What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Inside Inter Miami. I'm your host, Andre Fernandez, joined as always by my co host, Michelle Kaufman, our Inter Miami beat writer. Michelle, we have a jam packed slate to go over here, including a mixed week, which started badly for the team. A 3-0 loss against Cincinnati on the road, where the team just did not look good. Playing their 8th game in 33 days at the time, looked like a tired squad and played like it. And suffered a big loss on the injury front, too, with Oscar Ustadi getting hurt in goal. But then 3 days later, this team stays on the road, and boy, did they get it together. It comes back with actually started a little sluggish, too. Gave up a goal early and was down 1-0, but then stormed back. Messi leading the charge, 2 goals, 2 assists in a 5-1 win. So we'll look at a little bit of all of that, the good and the bad, with this team. Messi still on fire overall, though, 6 braces in 7 games. We'll talk a little bit about that, where the team stands after all that mayhem. Didn't move much in terms of placement in the standings, but definitely closed the gap. It's now a very tight race between the top 5 in the East, with Miami 5th at the moment, but 3 games in hand. We'll go over all of that stuff. And we'll talk a little bit about some of the little things with the team, kind of like why does he not play more than he does? Some people are still criticizing Luis Suarez being in there so much, even though he had an assist in that Red Bulls game. And the big question, is Lionel Messi going to play in this All-Star game, which, as everyone is watching and listening to this, is just hours away in Austin, Texas? If he skips it for any reason other than injury or illness, he'd have to sit out the next league game. And guaranteed Miami does not want that, considering the next one is Cincinnati at home, which is a big one. So we'll talk about that, and we'll close things out, talk a little bit about the Rodrigo de Paul pending debut, at least from everything that's been reported for Inter Miami, and what's the latest with Messi, and in terms of his contract extension, when is that happening? But let's go back to the beginning and talk a little bit about just this team. It is a tired group, even after the victory against the Red Bulls, but a good bounce back overall. But this Cincinnati loss at first did not look good.
No, I mean, Mascherano said he doesn't want to use tiredness as an excuse. He has said numerous times since then, in the 2 interviews, I guess, since that I saw, that, they were better than us. I'm not saying that they were not, they were superior to us. They played better than us from the kickoff, but we were tired. He said that, it was finally sort of showing, it was catching up. 8 games in 33 days. You're talking about less than 1 every 4 days. For a long, long stretch, that's really difficult. And he has been starting all of the main starters. It's not like he's doing mass rotations. Javier Mascherano, as we can see now, he does not believe in mass rotations. He's not going to take out all 4 of the stars and put in 4 other players just so that those 4 guys can rest. He sticks with his starters. He says, as a former player himself, his belief is that when you move too many players in the lineup, there's a lot of confusion, and you're not really helping the team, and you're not really helping those players either, because they come in and they don't put in good performances, and they're nervous, and no one knows exactly what they're doing. So he doesn't believe in mass substitutions. He doesn't believe in just bringing in 7 new guys because they're going to be playing a team that's inferior. So all of these guys pretty much have been playing for all of those games with just 2 or 3 changes in the lineup each week. That is his system. That seems to be what he's sticking with. And, it's working. They're winning, except that Cincinnati game came along. And Cincinnati, I mean, from the start was just so aggressive. Every duel they were losing. Every single duel, it seemed like they were losing the ball. That most of that game was played in one half of the field. And Messi was held scoreless after 5 consecutive games with a brace. He was unable to score. I think he had 2 touches in the first 20 minutes of that game. So
Yeah.
that's pretty much what you need to know. When Lionel Messi has 2 touches
Yeah.
in 20 minutes, things are not going well.
Yeah, he got a few chances in the second half, but by then Cincinnati was in control. Even what we're used to, where Inter Miami tends to possess, 2/3 of the game instead of, their opponent. In this one, it was a lot more even, especially early on. It seemed like you said, they were getting beat to every 50-50 seemed to go Cincinnati's way. It just looked like that hustle was a little bit more on their side. And yeah, I mean,
and then
even
losing Ustari,
right.
this is nothing against, nothing against Rocco Rios Novo. I mean, but he had to get thrown in there, and two of the three goals were under his watch. He has had really very, very little experience going, trying to replace a guy with a lot of experience, a 38-year-old leader of the team, a guy who everybody has been talking about Ustari's leadership skills, not only his goalkeeping skills, but how he organizes the back, how he directs everybody. And all of a sudden he's out. And by the way, he's going to be out for a stretch now, it looks like.
Yeah.
So, Rios Novo, those are some big shoes to fill.
Yeah, he pulled up. It looked like a hamstring, and as soon as that, I've seen it. I've covered, a lot of sports, just like you have. I mean, baseball, it happens all the time. Running out something, those take a while. I mean, it's not anything that it's not a severe, right? It's not a severe thing, but it nags. It nags for a while.
Yeah, look at Yannick Bright. Look at David Ruiz. Look at Gonzalo Lujan. All of those guys were out for more than a month with hamstring injuries.
Right.
And this team does tend to have hamstring injuries. I know they've played more than other teams. I don't know if it's something in their training or they've just played more, but it is concerning. And now Ustari, that's tough. Now, if Drake Callender, this is his opportunity. If he's apparently almost ready, he needs to, as soon as he can be ready, they could use help in that position. They really could, because without Ustari in the back directing, it's not, it's going to be difficult. But then, so they lose to Cincinnati.
Yeah. I was gonna say it puts more stress. It puts more stress on their defense in front, because I think you saw it even in the Red Bulls win, which we're going to get to. The one goal on the set piece, Rocco didn't make the play, probably could have. The defense wasn't. I mean, it was an impressive goal by the Red Bulls with Redondo draped all over him anyway, but the defense didn't do a good job there. So the defense has to almost be even more on point just to compensate.
Yeah, right. And they've been a little leaky also. Right. That's not their strength. As we know, their strength is all the stars and scoring and whatever. The strength has not been the defense. Right. And, in fact, as he was asked about it later, that they've only had one clean sheet in the last 20 games, which is not a great stat. It's, they win, but what they're winning 2-1, 3-1, they're giving up that one. They're giving up that one. And when you give up that one, it means you have to score more than that.
I was going to say the other day it was the Nashville game. Remember, there was like 1-0 for a while, and I'm like, this isn't going to be enough. You just know it, and then boom, they tied the game.
This team doesn't win 1-0. This team doesn't win 1-0 or 2-0. Yeah. They win 2-1. They won 3-1 or 5-1
Yeah,
but they don't win 1-0. And they don't win 2-0.
Yeah, no pitchers duels with this team. It has to always be an outslug your opponent, out kick your opponent, get like I said, 3, 4, 5, and sometimes sometimes it doesn't hurt to make sure. We're thinking they're just piling on, but you never know with this team with the defensive lapses.
You never know with this team. Oh no, absolutely. And after that loss, I think everybody's question, including mine, was, wow, they look so tired. So now what? I mean, maybe they're gonna have to rest against New York Red Bulls. I mean, he's gonna have to go deep into his bench. There's no way after that loss and seeing them look so tired that all those guys are going to play again, right? Well, guess what?
Yep.
There they were again. Messi, Suarez, Busquets, Alba, everybody. It was basically the same starting lineup with just 2 changes, I believe.
Right. And I think the only changes he made were people that missed the game before that he intended to be there originally that just came back. He didn't really tweak it. And he said it too after Cincinnati. He said what we were talking about before. He believes in continuity. He doesn't want to disrupt that with the team. He's like, don't expect it to be 6, 7 changes in the lineup. It's not going to be anything drastic.
Right. So. And it wasn't. And so you're thinking, okay, well, he's sticking with his guns. He's doing what he does. And then they give up an only goal. And it's, oh boy, this is not going to be good. They're coming off the Cincinnati loss. And, I saw the people starting to tweet all the negative stuff and already questioning Javier Mascherano again. And then, bam, 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 and bam. 5 goals.
Argentine Floor came in with his hammer and just said, nope, this is hasta aquí. This is not no more of this.
No more. I mean, Messi once again with 2 goals, 2 assists. Segovia, he had a fantastic game. Telasco Segovia is really, he really is a good pickup. He's a young guy, 21 years old on the Venezuelan national team. I mean, he's a guy that he's a guy that Europe will be looking at, at some point, and he
Yeah.
has said that that is his goal. He came here to play with Messi and to learn amongst these masters, but his ultimate goal is to go to Europe and play somewhere over there. And he had very good game, 2 goals, and then Jordi Alba gets his first goal of the season, I believe. Is that right? That was his first goal this season, with a
Yes. Yeah. He's so much of
beautiful
a
assist.
distributor. Right. He's so much of a distributor that you don't see him score too often. But it was another great rush upfield, which it looked like a carbon copy of the first goal until the last minute, where you could tell he was a little bit out of position and made the right move to cross it back to Jordi in front of the goal, and Jordi had the open shot. So it was just perfect the way that.
By the way, it was one of these passes. We always talk about Messi scoring and all that. His passing, that particular assist on Jordi's goal, he threaded that. There were 4 defenders on the left side. There were 4 defenders. I counted them, I think. He threaded it right between. He just sees a lane. It's almost like a race car driver, how they can see a tiny opening where they could get between 2 cars, where you're looking at a race and you're saying there's no space there for a
They're
car to
gonna,
get
yeah, like I
between those
see.
2 cars.
Yep.
Yeah, I see, right, side by side, saying,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's what he does. He has a vision, and we've talked about it, and everybody talks about it. But when you see an assist like that, there's nobody else. I was going to say, I don't think there's anybody else on the field. Even Busquets, who makes beautiful passes, the small, tight spaces
Yeah.
is where Lionel Messi just does things that that
Defy
defy
belief. Yeah.
logic, defy belief. Really, so
Yeah.
it was really an incredible comeback for them to come back from a very bad loss in Cincinnati. You go down 1-0. Presumably they're tired, right? And then they score 5 goals.
Right.
Just like that, 5 unanswered goals.
And you brought up Busquets and passing. I want to give credit to that one, to that aspect of it. But we've talked about it. His field vision is amazing, because you're talking about Messi in tight spots. Busquets has this way of seeing the field, like that assist he had, where he's so good on the long ball down the field.
The long ball,
and
yes.
he split the defense,
And
and
it
all of a sudden
always
it was a
lands.
breakaway.
Yeah, and it lands. It's perfectly timed, perfectly paced, the perfect weight on the pass, where whoever he's passing to upfield, oftentimes Lionel Messi, the ball is delivered like, I mean, that is beautiful delivery. Beautiful delivery. Yeah, I mean, I know he does get beat sometimes in the midfield. When it's a one-on-one duel, he does get beat sometimes. He doesn't have the speed. He gets beat sometimes on duels, but the passes that he makes are just incredibly valuable and very hard to replicate from other players. Other players run around more, whether it's, Benja or Yannick Bright or, whoever. They run around and Fede Redondo, but Busquets has a gift for those passes. That's just his gift. That's his trademark.
Yeah, the offense was was humming in that second half for sure. Well, let's hear from Fede Redondo talking about he had missed the prior game and came back in this one. So let's hear what he had to say about the victory.
¿Qué tal, Federico? Muy buenas noches. Fernando Espinosa para la Voz de Sport Nueva York. Bueno, un análisis de este triunfo, ¿no? Pudieron remontar un 1-0 abajo, pero ¿qué te ha dejado este triunfo aquí en los Red Bulls?
No, creo que los primeros 10-15 minutos nos costaron, que ellos hicieron una presión muy alta, que no lográbamos salir. Bueno, ahí nos hicieron el gol y a partir de eso creo que cambiamos la cara, ¿no? Empezamos a ser protagonistas, dominantes, pudimos tener la posesión del partido y demostramos nuestro fútbol.
Ese es el juego que siempre el Inter tiene, que los primeros 15 minutos son como una radiografía que le hacen al equipo y después de eso se van con todo.
Bueno, es verdad que siempre los primeros 15 minutos el rival te presiona mucho y quizás es un poquito más difícil mantener la posición, que es nuestro juego, pero creo que después de eso hicimos un muy buen partido.
Cuando hablamos de ritmo futbolístico, sabemos que tiene una seguidilla muy grande de partidos. ¿Eso afecta dentro del plantel, pensando en lo que se viene también? Porque se viene un torneo a partir de agosto también intenso. ¿Cómo lo trabajan y si esperan la llegada de algún compañero, en el caso de Rodrigo de Paul en el medio, que te ayudaría mucho?
Bueno, la verdad es que Sí, lo de tener tantos partidos, sobre todo nosotros, porque creo que el resto de los equipos de la liga tuvieron un poco más de descanso. Sí, es verdad que te afecta, pero bueno, eso es el precio a pagar por competir en todas las competencias, por hacer el buen papel que estamos haciendo y estamos contentos. Y sí, bueno, ojalá. Creo que no hay nada confirmado todavía, pero sería un honor y un placer la llegada de Rodrigo.
¿Fue positiva la competencia del Mundial de Clubes para ustedes?
Bueno, obvio, desde poder medirnos contra los mejores equipos del mundo, que es un sueño, y bueno, y también para demostrarnos que se puede competir, que si estamos bien y en un gran nivel le podemos ganar a cualquiera.
Federico, ¿qué necesitan en esta recta final, ya que vienen en una seguida de partidos, pero positivos, ¿no? Con goles sobre todo, con buen ánimo, y se han enfrentado a equipos fuertes? ¿Qué necesitan para afrontar la recta final de la MLS y lo que viene?
Bueno, seguir haciendo lo que venimos haciendo. Creo que, como vos dijiste, venimos una seguilla muy buena, haciendo muy buen trabajo, buenos partidos, siendo protagonistas, así que hay que intentar seguir por el mismo camino.
Cuando hay goles es importante, ¿no? Cuando se convierte, el equipo también da un rendimiento extra pensando que están haciendo bien las cosas.
Bueno, obvio, la verdad es que con los jugadores que tenemos nos facilita mucho, hacen muchos goles, generan muchas ocasiones de gol, que volvimos a conseguir esa solidez defensiva que también es importante.
Bro, what were your thoughts after going down 1-0 in the first half?
No, bueno, tranquilidad, ¿no? Estamos acostumbrados, sabemos que el partido dura 90 minutos y a lo largo de la temporada dimos vuelta a un montón de resultados así.
We remained calm. We knew that it was a long match, 90-minute match, so we remained calm and knew that we could turn it around.
What was that feeling like, just the atmosphere and the fans and the support you guys have had tonight in New York?
Well, I think because of Leo, it's something common, no? Every time that we went this year, we feel the same support and we're really thankful.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, a little English. Feather Redondo showing that his English is better than some people don't know that he does speak some English. So he chose to answer that last question in English. Basically, he was asked both in English and Spanish about the fact that they went behind early. Was he nervous? What changed? And he said, we're very used to that, which is true. They have fallen behind before. He said, we're used to that. We realize that the game is 90 minutes. The first 10 to 15 minutes were not very good, but we're used to being from behind and we remain calm. We know that with the players we have, we can score a lot of goals, and that the team now has to just keep doing what they've been doing, that to keep on going with the stretch that they were on. He basically suggested that they didn't panic, which is something that is true about this team. I mean, even when they were in the terrible run in the beginning of May, they stuck together. They really did stick together. I didn't really see any finger pointing at all going on from the players. Everybody kind of stuck together and they weather the storm. So Feather Redondo was just saying, look, we knew we could come back with the players we have. We know the game is 90 minutes. We stayed calm and now we have to just keep doing what we're doing. And so he was asked, well, that part was in English, about the fact that with Leo, did it surprise him or how does it feel to have so much support from the opposing fans? And he said, that they're accustomed to that because it's true everywhere they go, except Cincinnati. I think I mentioned in the last podcast, the Cincinnati crowd is not a Messi crowd. Everywhere else that he goes, especially in big cities, when they play in New York, when they play in LA, when they play in, big cities, he gets a lot of support in DC. When they play in the Cincinnatis of the world, the team is there to see Cincinnati. Maybe deep down they're happy to see Messi, but they wouldn't be caught dead in a pink shirt at a Cincinnati game. Whereas when you go to the Red Bulls game, I've covered Red Bulls games up there.
Yeah.
I'm not even kidding. They are selling, when you get off the subway, there's a subway stop, a train stop that goes from the World Trade Center that goes straight to the arena, to the stadium. When you get off the train, there are folding tables set up and they are selling knockoff Messi merchandise at the Red Bulls home games.
It's so funny.
So,
I mean, I'm not surprised, but I'm not surprised by the train station being there or the Messi, the counterfeit Messi stuff.
A lot of counterfeit stuff. Yeah.
But the Cincy game, what you're saying is true, because they had a blue out, they called it, and it was like a sea of blue in the entire crowd. I mean, you had
it was hard to find
here,
a little sprinkle,
a little small pockets, but not right.
Small pockets, but not what you see when you go to a Red Bulls game. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, the first time I covered a game at Red Bulls, it was actually a little controversial. Their fans were not happy. I saw some things on Twitter that they were selling Messi merchandise inside their team store. They were selling Messi merchandise in the Red Bulls team store. That's a little bit, you know, a little extreme.
So you tweet,
But I don't think
you
they do
tweeted
that
it?
anymore.
You tweeted it?
Yeah, I don't
Is
think
that what
they do
happened? You
that
tweeted it?
anymore.
Oh.
I don't think they do that anymore.
Oh, very funny.
But anyway, yeah. So huge win. You know, one thing
I'm
about
picturing. Sorry, I was picturing a merchant going, "Take it down, take it down." You know, like the second they see something on social.
Yeah, I mean, because the parking lot was full of, you know, counterfeit people there with their trunks open, you know, and a lot of the Hispanic fans, you know, with the trunk open and they're selling Messi bucket hats, Messi scarves, Messi shirts, every Argentina shirts. They were selling Argentina shirts everywhere. This is at the Red Bulls game. So anyway, 5-1 over the Red Bulls. Probably at least half the people in that stadium were thrilled because they were there to see Messi. The other half that were there to see the Red Bulls were not happy. One thing we didn't point out that is a negative of this game is that Maxi Falcon got a yellow, right? And he's going to be out, suspended.
Out for the Cincy game. Yep.
For the
Yellow
Cincy game.
card
That's a big
accumulation.
loss. When we're talking about if you've lost Ustari as a leader in back, the other leader in back is Maxi Falcon, period. Those two guys are the guys who lead the defense. And both of those guys are, you know, assuming that Ustari's out, Maxi Falcone is going to be out, suspended with yellow card accumulation. That is going to be very, very tough to replace his energy and also his leadership. So that's going to be something to watch for in the next game. I think we're going to hear from Javi, right, Mascherano?
Real quick before we're gonna hear from Javi, but before we do that, I wanted to mention to whoever hasn't seen the table lately, Inter Miami, like I said, still in 5th, but now only 3 points behind Columbus, and then 6 points behind Nashville and Philadelphia, and 7 points behind Cincinnati. Which again, Cincinnati has now surged to the top. So this is a big game.
So they're playing the first place team. They're going to be playing the first place team and a team that they lost to.
And a team they lost to. So which is big because of tiebreakers and whatnot. But still, 3 games in hand. But that's the team you don't want to get 10 or even more points too far away, because there goes your hopes of a supporter shield at that point.
Right. And that's a team that let's remember 1 week ago beat them 3-0. So they held Messi scoreless. Again, Messi's getting brace after brace after brace. Cincinnati held him scoreless. Now Cincinnati's coming to their home. You know, for so many reasons, they want to win that game.
For sure. So let's hear from Mascherano now.
No, claramente no es sorpresa porque me ha tocado convivir con él durante 8 años en el Barcelona, durante más de 15 en la selección, como compañero y siempre, sobre todo a lugares donde él no ha ido con continuidad, la gente se vuelve loca. La realidad es que no solamente en estadios, me ha tocado convivir con él en aeropuertos, en hoteles y bueno, genera todo esto. Creo que la admiración es total, pero no creo que sea solamente por la clase futbolista que es, sino también creo que es un ejemplo de deportista y trasciende lo que es nuestro deporte, ¿no? Trasciende el fútbol. Al final creo que cualquier persona fanática del deporte, no del fútbol, del deporte, siente admiración por este tipo de deportistas, ya sea Leo Messi, Michael Jordan en su momento, Rafa Nadal, gente que ha trascendido el deporte y bueno, la realidad es que somos muy, muy privilegiados los que tenemos la oportunidad de estar cerca y vivir esto también de cerca.
Now here he's talking about Lionel Messi. You know, we were just talking about him before, about 6 braces in 7 games and what he's doing and how he brings in all these fans, opposing fans. And Mascherano was asked about it, and he said, I'm very used to this after playing with him for so many years in Barcelona, playing with him for so many years with the Argentine national team. And he said, this is a guy who transcends sport. He said, he compared him to, he said, it's just like Michael Jordan, like Rafa Nadal. He said there are some athletes that if you're a sports fan, there are certain athletes that transcend sports and that you have to admire those athletes. It's not just a normal athlete, they transcend their sport. And he said that Lionel Messi is in the same company with Michael Jordan, with Rafa Nadal, those type of athletes that are just at another level, and that we are privileged to be able to be here at this stage of his career. So, he gets asked all the time. I mean, almost every press conference, somebody asks Mascherano about, does it still amaze you what Lionel Messi can do? And he's been answering that question probably since he was a player with Barcelona, with Argentina, now as his coach. It is amazing what he does. And then Mascherano also spoke. We have another clip of him speaking about what you were just talking about, where the team is in the standings and just overall how the team is going into this week after the long stretch of the schedule they had. Let's hear from Masha now on that.
Sí, mira, bueno, la realidad que veníamos, sobre todo en estas 2 semanas, que teníamos que jugar 5 partidos, de los cuales 4 los jugábamos fuera de casa. Era una etapa compleja para nosotros, sobre todo por el viaje, por los viajes que tenés y bueno, y el poco descanso que hay entre partido y partido. De hecho, claramente el partido contra Cincinnati fue un poco el reflejo del cansancio que mostró el equipo, más allá de que obviamente Cincinnati no superó. Nada, ahora la realidad es que viene una semana larga, es una semana que vamos a aprovechar sobre todo para obviamente que la gente que está más cansada descanse y bueno, y también con la expectativa de poder recuperar ciertos jugadores que vienen de una lesión y bueno, y ya poder empezar a sumarlos. Por suerte en estos últimos 2 partidos, el caso de Gonzalo Luján, el caso de Yannick Bray ya se fueron sumando minutos y bueno, la idea es esa, porque es verdad, como decís, más allá de lo que es la MLS, ahora también en agosto se viene la League Cup y bueno, queremos ser competitivos en todas las competencias.
Yeah, so he was asked, he's talking about the tough schedule that they had, going into that Cincinnati game and even with the New York game, a very tough part of the season with a lot of travel, with very little rest in between the games. He said it showed in the Cincinnati game, that it showed how tired they were, although Cincinnati was the better team, showed how tired they were. And now he said they're going to try to take advantage that they have a long week now to recover and for players who are injured to get even more healthy so that they can start gaining minutes. He mentioned that he was pleased that Yannick Bright and Gonzalo Luján were able to, ease their way back into the field and playing some minutes, and that, they're going to need everybody to be able to play as much as possible, because now in addition to MLS, we've got Leagues Cup around the corner, which starts next Wednesday. So, he's hoping that the long week will help players recover and get ready for what lies ahead, which is still a very jam-packed schedule. It's not like things are slowing down to 1 game a week. They have Leagues Cup coming up now, so it's going to stay complicated.
Yeah, we got Mascherano talking a little bit more about what you had mentioned earlier, Michelle, about how they never have a shutout. They never have a clean sheet with this team. It's always having to outscore everybody. But an interesting topic also on Fafa Picol, because we've seen him be the guy, kind of the energizer off the bench late in the games, but they're wondering, should he play more? And I know that,
and especially with Suarez struggling. I know a lot of people write me emails or tweets, and my own brother sometimes asks me, like, why doesn't Fafa play more, especially with Suarez struggling? Why doesn't Fafa play more? So a reporter in New York, a reporter from the New York media crew asked Mascherano that question and asked him about the lack of clean sheets on this team, if that concerns him. Let's see what he had to say.
Yes, I'm worried about that. You are right that we need to improve. We need to be better and in defense. I think the team is defending well, but sometimes we are conceding goals. too many in set pieces. We need to improve a lot in set pieces. But at the end, as a team, we don't concede too many chances. This is something good for us, but we know that if you want to be competitive, not just in MLS, in all the tournaments, you need to be very, very good in defense. And if you don't concede, goals, you take advantage. About Fafa, is a player that we need to maybe sometimes. I want to give him more minutes. At the moment, I couldn't find the moment to give the minutes maybe that he deserves. But he's working well. He's a player that when you send him on the pitch, he's trying to do well, and something he give us something different, you know. He has pace, is good 1v1, and also has a lot of goals. So maybe from now to the end, he will deserve a little bit more minutes.
He's basically admitting there that he deserves more minutes. You know, he said, I've been trying to find the time, but I haven't found the right time to give him more minutes. I mean, the truth is because Javier Mascherano, you know, by his choice, or I don't know, if there's a directive above him, but he has chosen to stick with the big stars. And he has said on a few occasions, look, basically when push comes to shove, I am sticking with the big players of this team. I'm sticking with the guys who have a lot of experience, who bring us a lot of leadership. And it's those four, you know, let's face it, it's the four Barcelona guys. He's sticking with the Barcelona guys, and then he tries to work in everybody else. But he does admit there that Fafa gives them, he said he gives us something different. He gives us pace. He's good one-on-one. He has scored a lot of goals, and he works well. And he said, you know, that he does deserve more minutes, and that hopefully from now to the end of the season, he will be playing more minutes. So, I mean, it does seem to be him conceding there that Fafa does deserve more minutes and brings the team a different dynamic than, let's say, Luis Suarez or Allende or somebody else, but he hasn't pulled the trigger yet and put him in. You know, I mean, what do you think about that?
It's like, how do you bench? He's wrestling with the tug of war of how do you bench a Hall of Famer? How do you bench a legend?
Exactly.
And that's the whole problem. It's not that Fafa's very deserving, and I think it's that obvious that he can't hide that even if he wanted to. And Suarez did get an assist in this last game.
Yeah,
he looked a little better. He didn't score, but he looked more creative in play. He was part of those, you know, even one of them, they didn't get the credit for the assist because it was one pass down the chain, but he was involved in 2 goals, even if one of them doesn't show up on the score sheet. So there's moments overall, but I don't know. Does this evolve into a maybe you don't drastically just bench Suarez for an extended amount of time, but maybe you pick and choose your spots a little more?
Yeah, or pull him out at the 60-minute.
Yeah,
or pull him out at the 60-minute mark. If you're determined to start him because he's a legend and all that, and he does have there is the promise of something special with Suarez that you know, he can every once in a while do something, but a lot of the time it seems like someone like Fafa with more energy, with more speed, and especially if the defense is now going to be missing its goalkeeper and it's going to be missing Maxi Falcone in this next game. You know, you want a guy who can run back if there's a counterattack. Luis, and you have a foot race between. If you right now put a foot race between Luis Suarez and Fafa, I know who's going to win that race. Okay, so you know, maybe this is the time to. If you don't want to bench Suarez, then pull him out at 60 and let Fafa play the final 30. You know, he can maybe produce more in 30 minutes than he can. Put him in the 80th minute. He only plays 10 minutes, or in the 85th minute. He comes in very, very late. I think maybe give him some more time.
He's
but it does seem like he did admit that.
It's interesting how he's carved out a very valuable role on this team. It's almost like the sixth man,
Oh, yes.
the sixth one off the bench in basketball. Like it's that's always very valuable. Sometimes even more so than a starter. He's really carved that out. But that being said, don't bring him in the 80th minute. We're already at the very end.
Bring
of
him
the
in the
game.
60th, 70th. Yeah, bring him in the 70th minute. Let him play 20 minutes.
Right.
So he can get a rhythm and
we've seen him strike on the offensive end when he's gotten comfortable in a game. He had that big one, if I'm not mistaken, against Atlanta early in the season. And
he's good on headers, believe it or not, even though he's not that tall. We've talked about it. The guy can jump, and he says he can dunk. I mean, I haven't personally seen him dunk, but he says he can dunk.
Wouldn't doubt it.
So, he can jump. He's good on set pieces because he's good in the air. Despite lack of height, he's very good leaper. And let's look. That's something we'll look in the next couple episodes to see if Fafa's getting some more playing time.
Yep. And now the other topic we wanted to tackle before the show ends is the MLS All-Star Game. Lionel Messi and Jordi Alba have been selected to represent the MLS team. But should they? And like we mentioned before, if you just skip it, you can't just do a skip day and not show up because you will be suspended for the next game. And that's a no-no. Miami needs all the big horses on the field against Cincinnati. So
did you notice that Jordi? Did you notice that
ahead.
Jordi had some kind of minor strain toward the end of the Red Bull game?
Oh yes, that leg cramp was very interesting. Yeah,
I am not saying that he faked it at all, but the fact that he had a leg cramp, that will work in his favor if he has to skip the All-Star. And again, this is no offense to the leadership of MLS, and I know that they're very excited about the All-Star Game. They have all these activities going on this week about the All-Star Game. My personal opinion, just like I mentioned with the Club World Cup, where they tried to Americanize things and add some elements, like halftime shows and countdowns and things. Soccer doesn't need it. We don't need to do that. American soccer has evolved enough that the people who love the sport in this country love it without an all-star game. An all-star game is not something they do in any other country in the world. There is no such thing as an all-star game. That is an American sports thing. And I know we're in America, so that's the debate. The debate is this. Here we go. Here's our takes of this topic.
Right.
We are in America. This is an American league. The American sports leagues have all-star games. Should MLS have an all-star game in the middle of the summer, in the middle of a jam-packed with Club World Cup, with Leagues Cup, with all these things? Should there be an MLS all-star game? Yes or no?
Well, here's my take, and it's going to expand across not just this sport, not just this league, but overall, I am not a fan of all-star games, period. I mean, except
I'm not either.
Baseball. I think baseball is the only one that gets it right.
Baseball is a big one.
Because you could tell they're trying. I know they tweak it a bunch of times, but even that swing off the other day wasn't bad. All of that gets some excitement. They're actually trying. Just the nature of the game is a little more unpredictable. That's it. To me, I don't see the harm in having all-star teams picked. If you want to honor the accomplishments of said athletes up to that point in that season, go right ahead. But to me, this game, the Pro Bowl, the hockey one, it's all BS. And boring, and they're not trying. In the NFL, they're not tackling. In the NBA, they're not defending, even less than they do already. In hockey, they're not checking anyone into the boards. It's BS. It's just,
to make them travel. I mean, in this case, you're asking all of the best players. These are the all-stars for MLS and for Liga MX. Okay, Liga MX. So the best players of both of those leagues, who a lot of those players played in Club World Cup. They're about to play in Leagues Cup. These are the same exact players from Mexico and from the United States who are going to play in Leagues Cup next week. And now you're going to have all of them travel to Austin, Texas to play a meaningless game where their main concern is going to be not to get injured. I really don't see what is the point. And yet, if they're going to be suspended, if they miss the next game, then they're going to feel pressure that they have to go. It's a tough situation to put all of these athletes in, and their bodies are already being worn out enough. The calendar is too crowded as it is
It's
with
in the
all of
way.
these cups. It's in the way. It's in
Yeah.
the way. Now, it's not something that everyone around the country is going, oh, I can't wait for the MLS All-Star game. I can't wait for the
Yeah,
skills
like nobody,
challenge. I
nobody's
can't wait
sitting.
for the skills challenge. Ooh, you
Yeah,
know.
I'm like, are you that like in an international setting? Fine, and in the League's Cup, fine. But are you really sitting there going, I hope the MLS All Stars kick the Mexican All Stars asses, or vice versa? Like, I don't think anyone's really like very few,
No.
if.
Yeah, I just think at the beginning when they started this league, you know, they were trying to get attention for the league. They wanted people to notice it. It was a chance to showcase the top players around the league and get people to know the big names. I think that it's 30 years now. The league's been around, they've evolved. And also all of these athletes now, what in speaking about one last thing I want to say about all-star games in general, now that we have social media, all of the athletes are superstars with their own platforms. They are in contact with their fans on a daily basis. You know, way back when you were following a team before the internet, before social media, you know, you were a fan of a particular team in a particular sport. You didn't get to see the other athletes who were stars in other cities that much. So the All-Star game was like a big deal, like all the stars are coming out. Now, all of those stars are posting on Instagram 10 times a day. We know everything about them, what they're eating, who their girlfriends are, who their wives are. You know, it's not that big a deal to get them all together. To me, if I were the commissioner of MLS, if I were Don Garber, I would just can the whole thing.
Well, like I said,
It's
I mean,
time.
I don't have a problem with an all-star team. Again, if you want to
Right.
honor,
Yeah.
recognize who the best players have been through the first half of the season, fine.
Exactly.
And everything we just said, though, what's funny is there's still going to be, and this gets into a whole other avenue that we don't have time for, but you know, there's still going to be people that are going to be betting on this All-Star game. And that's another reason it exists, is just for gambling purposes. And because people will literally bet on anything these days with,
It's
all the
money. I
betting
mean, there's
sites.
money.
Yeah.
There's money in it, but it's not, to me, it's not worth it. And you're putting the athletes at risk.
No, absolutely.
You're putting their health at risk. And it's just not worth it. It's not worth it.
You don't want to trot out Lionel Messi, even if he's going to walk around. In fact, he could probably hurt himself worse by not going full go. Sometimes that can happen to an athlete when you're trying too hard not to get hurt. Guess what happens? So
yeah,
let's hope this week, he heats up a thermometer. I'm going old school there, but he does something to fake a fever, say he's in the bathroom 5 times, something like that. So he makes sure he's there ready to go at Chase Stadium on Saturday. And speaking of Messi, let's finish up with some potential contract news. Anything news? This Rodrigo de Paul situation is like what everybody, he who must not be named, but everybody knows that it's going to happen. And then
it's definitely done.
Yeah.
I mean, Rodrigo de Paul, I did, since our last podcast, I did get confirmed from very, very, very reliable sources that, it is a done deal. It's a 4-year deal. Some of the details that I didn't have the last time we did the podcast, it's a 4-year deal, and it's going to start as a loan to the end of 2025. And that is what a lot of people were asking. Well, how's he going to come in? Because he can't be a DP because they already have 3 DPs and blah, blah, blah. Well, they're going to get around that by the fact that he's coming in as a loan. It's a loan deal with Atletico Madrid till the end of 2025. And then starting in 2026, then it will be they will have the option to purchase. Well, they are going to take that option. I can tell you right now in July that they're going to take the option to buy him at the end of the loan for another 3 years. So it's a 4-year deal. And it is definitely happening. It's done. It's just a matter of when they're going to announce it. The MLS transfer window opens on July 24th, which is Thursday. So look for an announcement Thursday, maybe Friday. But I think this week, by the end of this week, we will have the official announcement on him. Lionel Messi, they're not bringing in Rodrigo de Paul and sending Messi away. The reason that Rodrigo de Paul, Messi's bodyguard, is coming is because Messi wants him here and they want to play together through the World Cup for Argentina. So Messi is also going to be announced. Again, it's a matter of when, not if. Both of these players will be playing in the new Miami Freedom Park next season.
So that's gonna be Messi's in-game bodyguard, not the guy, not the big hulky guy that
Right,
takes
he has
down
two
the stadium
bodyguards now.
crashers.
Yassim, yeah, he has an
who
he
was
has
not
an
who
in-game
was not a
bodyguard.
Navy SEAL.
He was not a Navy SEAL. For
Who
anyone
was
who
not a
thinks he
Navy
was,
SEAL.
not a Navy SEAL, and neither was Rodrigo de Paul. But
Right.
they both take very good care of Lionel Messi. So on the
Right.
field and off the field, he will be protected.
There you go. Well, lots of protection coming for Lionel Messi, hopefully from the All-Star game itself, so he doesn't hurt himself or do anything or nothing crazy happens that could jeopardize this team's ascent in the standings that they've been doing lately. And we'll be back next week to see if how that situation worked itself out. We'll see how everything worked out at Chase Stadium on Saturday against Cincinnati and set the table for the Leagues Cup, which begins competition for Inter Miami begins on the 30th, as we mentioned before. So until then, for Michelle Kaufman, I'm Andre Fernandez, and we may have some contract updates to talk about if they announce, like you're saying,
Yes,
they
I
announce
think we
Rodrigo
will.
de Paul
Yeah, I
officially
think we will.
by then. So thanks again for watching on YouTube, on MiamiHerald.com. Catch all of Michelle's work there. And if you're listening, obviously, thank you for listening as well. And we hope to you continue to do so in the coming weeks and months as we document this team's 2025 season and beyond. So until then, for Andre Fernandez, for myself, for Michelle Kaufman, thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.
See you next week.